Welcome to Groton House Farm, situated about 30 miles north of Boston. We have assembled riders from all over the United States for these annual summer horse trials, including two-time world champion Bruce Davidson, Mike Plum and his son Charlie, Nancy Guyot, Denny Emerson, David O'Connor, Karen Lende, and many others. Hi, I'm Brian O'Connor, and I'm here at one of the most difficult fences on any cross-country course. This is the water complex. Riders have to drop down over this vertical, take a stride, again over another drop into the water. It's really not that deep. Take 2 strides across the water and out then over the bank.
But cross-country is only one part of the competition. There are 3 distinct phases: the dressage, cross-country, and stadium or show jumping. Now, the object of the entire competition is to get the lowest penalty mark. In the first phase, the dressage, riders perform a standard test for the same judge. They are judged on precision, suppleness, the ability of horse and rider to work as a team. The movements required include lengthening and shortenings of the stride, the walk, trot, and canter, plus several changes of direction. Now, these 24 movements are given a mark of 1 through 10, and then those scores are converted into a penalty mark. The lower the mark, better they stand in the competition. Dressage is very similar to the compulsory figures in figure skating or gymnastics, where seemingly small errors or mistakes are penalized. This is where the preparation and training of horse and rider are under close scrutiny. Former Olympian Jimmy Wofford said that good dressage means you can't see it. That means that the rider's leg, seat, and hand aids, or command, should be virtually invisible. Good dressage really is balletic and harmonious, where the horse and rider work as a single unit.
And welcome back to Groton House Farm. Here we start the cross-country coverage with Bruce Davidson, our 2-time world champion, now on the course riding Snowy River. Now we start the coverage with the preliminary divisions. And remember, we're probably going to have 2 to 3 riders on the course at the same time. Here's Bruce at the very front of the course. He's over the big hay rolls there at 5. And now down to the terrace steps. A series of 3 steps down, and very nicely ridden. And on around the corner now to the ditch and wall. Has a slight incline over the ditch and the logs there, nicely done. And Bruce heads to the black glade. Down through the woods now, and onto the stone wall, and 1 more jump, and then onto the water. And a nice easy jump there. Now here's our first rider coming down to that water complex. Now they'll jump it on the left-hand side for preliminary. Vertical down, 1 to 2 strides into the water and out over the bank there. And up to the Hiroshima Oxer at 13. Nicely done there. Now here we have Mike Plum on the front of the course. And he comes down over that drop. And here's Karen Lende, our 3rd rider on the course. And she's riding Biko. Karen's currently in 2nd place after the dressage, and she is over the big hay roll. And here's Bruce on the back of the course. He comes to the broken wing. Now this is an option fence where the riders can bounce on the right just like Bruce did there, or they can take the corner on the left. Here's Karen down through the terrace steps. And she handles that with no problem. Over the ditch, and nicely up over the logs. And here she comes down to the black glade. Now that's a tough fence because they're jumping from the light into dark there. And you have to pick a path through the trees, and they head on to the stone wall. Nicely jumped there, and down to the water. And very good there through the water, staying well balanced. The horse drops down into the water. This is always one of the big spectator areas, so you have a lot of people there, a lot of color, a lot of crowd. So it's something that the horses really have to get used to once you start going to these big competitions. And there's Bruce. He's about 3 or 4 from home now as he heads on the back of the course. That was Marcia Carabell through the ditch and the logs. And here comes Karen to the broken wing. So Like Rubico is giving her just a little bit of problem there. Now there's the left-hand side of that option we talked about earlier. She opted for that left-hand side. Here's Marcia Carabel down over the glade and through the woods. And she's thinking about making sure that horse stays on that path. She's thinking about that water jump coming up. There's a nice view of that wall coming into the water jump. This is also a little difficult because the horses actually have to come down a slight incline down to that water jump. Very nicely handled there by Marcia. Marcia was 5th after the first day. A big jump over the Oxer at 13. And there's Karen down over the drop on the back of the course. Now here we have Molly Bliss. Molly was a member of our World Championship team that went to the World Championships in Stockholm in 1990. She has a young horse in this competition. She's on the front of the course. Here's Marcia Carabel onto the broken wing. And she's going to go over the left-hand side, just opting for the one jump rather than the bounce or two jumps there. And here's Molly coming to the black glade. And she's over the glade there. And she heads through the woods now. And on towards the stone. Oh, she's had a fall. Oh, actually, she's come off the path there. Looks like she didn't make the turn quite right. And we get a good camera shot there. Looks as though both the horse and rider are okay. That's very unfortunate. That's going to cost her time. No penalties there because she's not around any of the jumps. You only get penalized if you fall within the penalty zone around an obstacle. But she's okay there, but I'm sure that's going to take a lot of wind out of her sails there. And she has to remount and gather herself to continue on. And here's Rachel Rosenthal riding Charlbury. Rachel was tied for 7th after the dressage. The encouragement down there over the 3rd terrace step. There over the ditch and the logs. And here she comes to the black glade. Down into the woods. You can see how the riders have to make the right-hand turn slightly there. And evidently when Molly came through there, she went straight through and got tangled up in the brush there a little bit. And it turns out that Molly had to withdraw on the course there, so she's not going to continue. Evidently she made a decision not to continue on. We believe the horse and rider are okay. There's a nice ride through the water for Rachel and Charlbury. And on to the Hiroshima Oxer. Nicely done there. Right-hand turn. And here we have Charlie Plum. Now we have Charlie and Mike Plum, father and son duo here at the competition this weekend. Both are trying out for slots on the Olympic team for the 92 games. And this is a young horse of Mike's. Oh, and there he picks up a refusal at the glade. Now we talked earlier about horses jumping from light into dark. Sometimes it's a little difficult. They're not quite sure about the landing. They're not quite sure what they're jumping into. So sometimes the young horses who don't have the experience, they'll sometimes stop at obstacles like that. So Charlie has to regroup. So he'll pick up 20 penalties there. It's 20 faults for a refusal, 40 faults for a second refusal, and a fall is 60 penalties. So any penalties on the course will really drop these riders in the standings. And here's Charlie coming down to the water. And he's had a refusal there, so that's a refusal at the water jump. That's going to cost him 20 penalties there. And looks as though his stirrup is broken. And sometimes this can happen. I mean, riders really have to check their equipment, but sometimes things happen on the course that you're really not prepared for. So Charlie tries to readjust his equipment there. Possibly that stirrup has come off the bar. No, it actually looks as though he has broken the leather, so he's taken that stirrup right off. So he's going to continue. He's about halfway through the course, but he's going to continue the rest of the course with just one stirrup. I mean, that's quite amazing. And then he has a very nice and a very strong ride through the water. I guess this horse, a little inexperienced, is causing Charlie some problems, so he's really going to have to be aggressive the rest of the way through. Here's another local rider from the New England area. This is Mark Weisbecker. Mark was 3rd after the dressage with 53.4. He's on a horse called Bestseller. He is clear to this point on the course. Little hesitation in the water, but he's not going to be penalized for that. It's good to stay balanced. He really pushed that horse out through the last part of the water, and a big jump there over the oxer. And remember that riders are also penalized for time. There is a time allowed on the course, and for every second they go over that time, they are penalized 4/10 of a point. So it's very important that you go clear and make the time and try to add no faults on the cross country. Now here's Mark to the broken wing, and he jumps for the left-hand side. Nicely done there over the corner. And there's Charlie Plum heading towards the last couple of fences on the course. And let's look at the leaderboard now. With a clear round on the cross country, Mark Weisbecker and Bestseller now take the lead with 53.4. Second place, Karen Lende with Biko. Third place, Marcia Carabel and Patty. Those are the top three now after day 2. And we'll be right back after these messages. And welcome back to Groton House Farm for the second section of the preliminary riders. This is Robert Costello now on the course, number 28. He is currently tied for 7th after the dressage with 63.0. Now remember, as we talked earlier about the scoring in the horse trials or 3-day event, that the lower the score, the better you are in the standings. And Robert's nicely down there over the terrace steps. Now on the cross country, these riders have had a chance to walk this course. They have been out, they have evaluated the fences, they've checked the stridings, they've made sure where their lines are going to be and where they're going to attack these fences. The horses, however, have never seen the fences before. And there's Robert down over the black glade. He comes out over the stone wall and onto the water. Now for the preliminary divisions, these fences can be 3'7" high, they can be almost 5 feet across the top, and they can almost be 6 feet wide. The big oxers, they can almost be 6 feet wide at the bottom. There's Robert through the water. Like he dropped his stirrup there, but he's okay, puts his foot back in, regroups, and is over the big oxer at 13. Now on the front part of the course, we have Carol Kozlowski. Carol is currently in the lead now. She has 46.8. She's riding Hideaway's Erin Go Bra. She's in the lead with 46.8. And over the broken wing for Robert Costello. And down through the steps. A big jump over the ditch, one striding up there. Some horses have taken 2 strides there. It's 1 stride there. Very aggressive ride. And there's Carol down through the black glade. She heads through the woods. Interesting note about this little horse. In this particular sport of combined training or 3-day eventing, horses come in all sizes and shapes. And this is probably one of the littler horses here at the competition. He's just a little over 15 hands and one of the very few stallions out competing at Groton House. And he has a great ride through the water. Very well done. He knew exactly what all that was about. And our leader is still clear to this point. Now on the front part of the course, clear at the 4th there, is Susie Gurnall. Susie Gurnall riding Life O'Reilly. She's in 4th place to date. She has 55.8. Here she comes to the big hay roll, nicely there. The big jump. Here's Carol onto the broken wing. Now she's opting for the bounce, one of the very few riders to go through the bounce there, which entails a rider and horse going over the first obstacle. As soon as they hit the ground, right back up in the air over the second part. Susie down through the steps, big jump over the 3rd terrace. Susie and her husband, Jim Gurnall, both from the New England area. They have both been competing in 3-day eventing and combined training, horse trials for many years. And Susie's down through the woods over the black glade. And she makes the turn down to the water. Now we get the results in for Carol Kozlowski and Hideaway's Erin Go Braun. They have completed the course with no faults So she does retain that lead. So these riders, 2nd through 5th, are now really vying for those spots now as they go to the show jumping or stadium tomorrow. Here we have Nina Fout. She's on the front part of the course. She's over 4, and she's down through the terrace at 5. Nina's riding Newton Brown. She was 16th after the dressage. She didn't have such a good go there, but she is really tearing it up on the course now and having a good ride. Susie's over the left-hand side of the broken wing. And here's a familiar figure. This is Bruce Davidson with his 2nd ride today. He's got 4 horses at the competition this weekend. And this is another one of his younger horses. So what's nice about this particular sport, not only do men and women compete on an equal basis, you also have the top Olympic riders competing against newcomers or younger riders coming up through the ranks. And here's Bruce onto the terrace steps. Bruce is riding Sometimes a Lady. He's in 9th place after the dressage. And very delicately down through the steps there. You can really see these experienced riders, how they really send these younger horses through their paces and really inspire the confidence that's needed for horses to move up through the ranks, up to the intermediate, and then up to the advanced or Olympic level. Not only is Bruce a 2-time world champion, he's also a gold medalist from the Olympic Games in 1984. He was on our gold medal team. And he's also the current bronze medalist at the World Championships. He won that bronze medal for the United States last summer in Stockholm. And Bruce is through the water and over the Hiroshima Oxer. And around to the broken wing. Bruce was one of the riders that earlier jumped the bounce, the right-hand side. And he's going to opt for that again, taking the younger horse through the right-hand side with no trouble. You can see some of the other fences there that belong on other courses at other levels here at Groton House. And we'll see some of the bigger fences for the Open Intermediate a little bit later in the coverage. Bruce is there clear, over 15, and over the small bank and drop at 16. And the last of our preliminary riders on the coverage today will be Denny Emerson and Griffin. Denny's currently in 2nd place, and he has a big jump over the box there. That is a maximum fence. It's about 6.5 feet wide at the bottom, 4 feet wide across the top, and of course 3'7" tall. Denny's another one of our Olympic riders. He rode on the Olympic team in 1972. He's also a member of the World Championship team in 1974. And Denny is going through the woods there. Not only is Denny Emerson an active rider and trainer and coach here in the New England area, he is also president of the USCTA, the governing body of this particular sport. There's Denny through the water. Now you'll see that Denny takes a little different route there at the out of the water. That last element is not necessarily flagged, so the riders don't have to go straight through. They have to go over the first 2 elements, but they have an option there. And I think Denny kind of got off to the left there, drifted a little bit left, and he had to go out the left. But he didn't pick up any penalties there. Well, now we change divisions and we head on to the Open Intermediate. This is the biggest division here at Groton House. And to start the coverage and well out over that 3rd, that's a big oxer, we have Natalie Dane. And she is on her way now to the banks at 4 and 5. A series of fences over ditch and rails onto a small bank, down over the bank, and up on top of another big bank, and out over the back side. Natalie is currently leading this young rider division, which is a separate division from the regular Open Intermediate, because it just entails having the riders that are anywhere from 18 to 21 years old. And there's Natalie jumping the right-hand side. Now the Open Intermediate riders have to jump the right-hand side of the water there. Bigger fences and a bigger drop. And she's out over the Hiroshima. Now the intermediates also have to go faster on the course. They are traveling at up to 570 meters a minute on the course. Their distance is about 2.5 miles. So it's more substantial, more difficult, and the fences, of course, are bigger and more difficult. And up over the double steps there, the double banks. Natalie's having a great go. You can see this horse's ears just straight forward, really looking forward to what's ahead. I'm really checking out all the fences. Now there's a big, big barn. And no trouble at all. There's a great shot. You can see the horse's eyes and ears just prick forward. He's ready to go. He's really attacking this course. And Natalie's letting him go. Now over the coffin, that's a series of rails down to a big ditch. That's about 8 feet wide at the bottom of that ditch. The big rail across the top. And Natalie has just a couple more to go. Well, we'll be right back with more coverage as we watch Natalie finish off. But we do have the results now for Preliminary B. The current leader, Carol Kozlowski, and Hideaway's Aaron Gobron. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Groton House for the site of the Summer Annual Horse Trials. We continue the coverage now with the Open Intermediate, and we pick up with Karen Lende and Nose Coup. This horse and rider combination won the national championships in 1989, and Karen is clear over the third. And here's Karen around now to the banks, sponsored by Michelob. Many major sponsors at the competition this weekend. There's Karen up and over the two banks. Well, I'm pleased to have Ann Getchell, the organizer, with me. And Ann, Karen seems to be having a really good go here on the course.
She sure does. It's really exciting to have these top riders here, especially with their top horses.
And Karen's currently in 4th place now, and here she comes down to the water complex. A big jump there over the vertical, into the water, lots of water, and she heads up the hill now onto the Hiroshima. Has the course been riding like you envisioned?
I think it has. I'm very happy with the way it's going. There's lots of new fences on it, and I'm happy to see they're jumping safely and well.
And in fact, Karen is clear on the course to this point. Now here she comes to the glade. This is a little different than the preliminary. They jump a bigger fence, but still, it's light into dark. And it's a bigger drop on the landing there. They make a left-hand turn, and they go up over 2 banks. We had an opportunity to ask Karen about this particular issue.
As far as this course varying from other courses, it's a bit hilly. It's very nice that way. And it also there's a lot of woods, so you're going light into dark a lot.
And here comes Karen down to the coffin complex. Now this is a big jump over rails. You go down the hill and over this big, huge ditch. And Karen was talking about that light to dark. Is that something that you as a course designer plan to put on the course?
Well, it's something that happens on this course in particular because the landowners have asked us to build as few freestanding jumps as possible, and so everything has to fit into the landscape and terrain as it is, and that way there's inevitably a lot of contrast from light to dark.
Well, here we have Bruce Davidson, and he is down through the water complex. So he lost his reins there in the water, slowed him up just a bit, but he gathered himself together, and he's now out over the Hiroshima. Were there many changes or new obstacles you added to the course this year, Ann?
There are quite a few on every course. I think you maybe noticed that we've changed the water a little. We've put a brush on the first element. This is to try to encourage the horses to jump in big and just take one stride on the top level, and then there are 2 strides in the water.
Bruce is down through the glade now and up over the 2 banks. Now this fence has changed too, you said earlier.
That's right. That used to be an oxer on the way out, but we decided it was a little safer to make it a bank in case the horse chose to put a foot down on it.
And here's a rider on the front part of the course now.
This is a new fence. This is the orchard oxer. This is the kind of thing you always hope won't happen. I'm not quite sure what happened here.
It looks as though he kind of came in, decided not to jump, and just went over the first element and got hung up in the middle there. But now she's taken the horse out. That was Carolyn Denton, and apparently horse and rider are both okay. And here's Bruce on the back of the course then over that big, big ditch at the coffin complex. Here's Marcia Kulak riding Galleria. She won the Canadian Championships last fall, and she had dressage marks yesterday that put her in 9th place. So she's having a good go on the course here.
Glad to see she had no trouble at the orchard oxer.
She was clear there and over the banks. We see a lot of these big signs on the course. It must be nice to have the corporate sponsorship, having the people supporting Groton House this year.
It's very nice. We've had a lot of in-kind sponsorship. They've helped us with the awards, and we hope to keep them with us future years.
We see that the event this year being sponsored by 9X, by Minolta, by Toklat. You've seen the Michelob signs, and of course Absorbing as well. Now you'll see there that that's a very interesting situation. It looks as though we've had a fence that has been damaged somehow on the course, not by this rider. So tell us what happens here. Marcia looks like she's been held up.
Well, she has been held up, and what happens is when something happens on course that requires repairs, word is sent to the local steward of the course, who will then hold up the rider. The officials will time the rider, but as you saw, Marcia was checking her own watch just to make sure that everything came out the same. And then she starts up on cue from the official.
Okay, so she's back on course. Now, is she penalized for that hold at all?
No, no, she is not. It is deducted from her elapsed time.
Ah, I see. Okay, so the fence has been repaired, and here's Marcia back on the course.
Right.
She's up over the bank, and clear there at those 2 steps. And here's Bruce on the back of the course, and he is about 3 or 4 from home at that point. There's another one of those big fences on the back of the course, and that has a big ditch in front of it, doesn't it?
That's been completely rebuilt this year. It has a masonry ditch underneath it, and it's good and wide.
There's Marcia down to the coffin, over the vertical, and down the hill, and out over the big ditch. Now here's the current leader on course. This is Mike Plum, and he's riding the Executive 2. Mike's currently in the lead with 46.8. And here he comes to the banks. Once again, up over the rails, the ditch. Now he bounced that. Now that's something that we haven't seen today.
Wasn't designed for that, but if you can do it and get away with it, that's fine.
Most horses have been putting the 1 stride in there, but Executive 2 very strong through that complex.
I'm glad to get to see Mike here. I know he loves this water jump. He says it's one of the best in the world.
He's ridden over a lot of water jumps throughout the world. Nicely done there. We actually had an opportunity to ask Mike about this particular horse, the Executive 2.
This year has been tough for him. It's really the first year that I've been able to try to get together with him. He's been hard to ride. He's been 3rd and 4th. We went to Lexington, which is our normal big 3-day event, and I had a fall there. And I've just never been able to get a handle on this horse. And so I thought I'd come here and give him another shot. And I think I've learned how to ride him a little bit. And he's a good horse, but he's just never let me ride him.
Well, it looks like they've really gotten it together this time.
Well, there's Marcia now on the back of the course, and she's over the drop rails and onto the big ditch and telephone poles there. Nice pat on the neck, and Marcia's just about to finish the course there. And here's Mike to the coffin complex. Over the vertical down the hill to the ditch. A nice jump there. And he's still clear to this point, so the leader is still holding his own. Now here's Denny Emerson, and Denny is off the Michelob bank there. Denny's riding Epic Win. He's currently tied for 5th. And here he comes down to the water. A little hesitation there, but he's clear, and here's Mike out to this big ditch and pole. That's a pretty wide jump there at the bottom there, isn't it?
It is. That's a big jump.
Nicely done there. Here's Denny going into the woods now with the glade, down over the drop, the left-hand turn to the banks. And Denny is clear to that point. And on the front part of the course, we have one of the riders who's not a member of the team. This is a local rider here.
This is Tim Murray, yeah. He's got this horse, Bill Gray, which is a wonderful New Zealand horse. He's doing a great job with him. It's only his 2nd intermediate, his first really big one.
It's a big step up to come to Groton House here. And oh, the rider really had to lean back there to keep his balance. And here is Bill Gray with Tim up and on and off the banks.
Tim's having a great round. He's really making this look easy.
That's right, but not all the riders out here always get away with the superb rounds. Now here is a rider, number 108, Wendy Negus. She's had a refusal here with the horse hanging his leg over the rail. Now she's fallen off. Is she going to get penalties there too?
Yes, she is. She's going to get 20 points for refusal and 60 points for a fall.
Here's Claudia Perot and Marketplace, and they have a very nasty fall at the second. The horse really hung his knees, and she went right down to the turf, and evidently she was winded pretty badly. They had the EMTs come over and look at her, and while they were holding the course, we had an opportunity to speak with the next rider, David O'Connor.
Well, I'm riding a horse named Colebrook, who is my student's horse. My student unfortunately hurt her leg about 3 weeks ago, and the horse was entered here and planned to come here, getting ready for the Young Rider Championships, which are held in Illinois at the end of August. And so the horse really needed a run at an event like this, and so I picked up the ride.
And here's David onto the banks, and very nicely handled there. Very difficult to train horses yourself, your own horses, for a level like this, but to pick up a catch rod like this must be very difficult for David to get organized here.
I admire these people who have the guts to ride strange horses on courses like this.
And a huge leap into the water for David. That's one of the biggest jumps we've seen into the water today. Well, Ann, here's the last rider on your course today. Here's Mike Plum riding Nicodemus. Now, he's already gone clear with his Executive 2 horse. With this horse here, Nicodemus, he's currently in second place, so he's got to put a lot of pressure upon himself.
I bet he'd like to hold on to the 2 top places. Oh, my God!
Oh, that's a bad fall there for Mike. He really goes down hard.
Looks like he's hurt. That ground is hard.
And Mike is getting up rather slowly there. That horse really seemed to just kind of throw his front legs into the front of the jump. He really didn't seem to pick
Looked like he
those
just
legs
wasn't
up.
paying any attention there.
That's right.
Here's son Charlie helping Mike back into the saddle. Hope he's okay.
He seems to be okay. A little stick action there on Nicodemus. Perk him up a little bit. He still has the water to go. So he's got 60 faults for the fall, so he is out of contention. But he still has to finish the course. Just a little rough through there. After a hard fall like that, it takes a couple of minutes to get back. In fact, Mike doesn't quite look as though he's riding in his normal fashion here. Just a little bit of a hesitation there. You think maybe he...
I think Mike is hurt. This isn't his usual style at all. He's a forceful rider, and here he's kind of a passenger.
There is a very rough ride through the banks there. That's the first horse we've seen touch off the back of the bank there with his back legs. Now here we have a chance to see that fall again. And you can really see the horse just does not pick those front legs up at all.
Mike really hit the ground hard, and I think he got stepped on.
As Mike goes on to finish the course, here are the current standings after 2 days. Mike Plum with the Executive 2 in the lead. Second place, Louise Merriman and Great Expectations. Third, Denny Emerson with Epic Win. Fourth, Marcia Kulak with Galleria. Fifth place, Karen Lende with Nozeku. And Bruce Davidson moves up to sixth place with Eagle Lion. We'll be right back for the exciting finish, the show jumping. Hello and welcome to the third and final stage of Groton House Horse Trials. We are here now in the show jumping arena for the Open Intermediate Riders. We come down to the top 6 riders now of the competition. Now on the third day, the riders go in reverse order of standing, so the horse that's in the lead will be the very last to jump. Here we have David O'Connor on Colebrook. He has marks after the cross country now of 66.6. Now the scoring for the show jumping is as follows. We have 5 faults for a dropped rail, 10 faults for a refusal, 20 faults for a second refusal. A third refusal will eliminate a horse and rider. So with the standings very close as they are in this division, a dropped rail is going to be very costly. Just like the cross country, riders are also penalized if they exceed the time allowed. You get 0.25 time faults for every second over. This is a beautifully built and designed course by Stephen Hales. And David's there over the Liverpool now. You'll notice the umbrellas and the tarps and things around with the spectators and camera personnel. The weather has changed dramatically since yesterday. The cross country, we had over 85, 88 degrees on the cross country. Here in show jumping, it's dropped down to about 65. There's been a pretty steady rain all the day. It's made it fairly slippery in the show jumping arena. The horses and riders have made adjustments. And David's handling the course very well here. And he makes the final turn down for the last 4 fences. The last 3 of which part of a triple combination. And rails have been dropping there today. And over the big oxer, a little rub of the rail, but it's still up. Down through the triple, And a clear round for David, so he really puts the pressure on the others now. We got a chance to ask Bruce Davidson about the weather conditions.
I don't think weather at this stage in the horse trials is that big a factor. The cross country and the endurance would be when weather normally is the biggest factor. And for horse trials, for 2 miles, it's not that hard to gallop. You don't go that far, and it's one effort, and then you cool them out. It's different if you're in a 3-day event and you have a long roads and tracks and a long endurance phase. But no, I don't think it's a real factor here.
Well, here's Bruce with his final ride of the day. Remember, he has already ridden 3 horses today in the show jumping in the preliminary divisions. Bruce is currently in 6th place. He's moved up from 17th after his cross-country round. He has a mark to date of 63.8. As though Bruce had a little in-joke with the judges there in the judges' booth. Big smile as he sets on his way on the course. The test of the show jumping really is to see whether the horses are fit enough and supple enough and still listening to the riders after going over the grueling cross-country. They have to be able to shorten, lengthen their stride, just like in the dressage, and yet still have the athleticism to be able to jump these big fences. As we said earlier, they can be 3'9", and they can be up to 4.5 feet wide. Bruce comes to the in and out. It's 2 strides there to a big oxer and then a right-hand turn. Down to a vertical right in front of the judges and the big crowd here assembled at Groton House. And a nice jump over both of the fans there. Over the big oxer and now down to the triple. And very nicely done. And a clear round for Bruce. Our next rider is Karen Lende, riding Nose Coup, owned by Dick and Vita Thompson from Malvern, Pennsylvania. This is one of 3 or 4 horses that Karen rides for the Thompson family. Karen has had a very good year this year. She won the Spring National Advanced 3-day event on another horse down in Kentucky in April. And with Nose Coup, this particular horse, she is now in 5th place. She only had 8.4 time faults on the course yesterday. It dropped her down from 4th to 5th, and she heads out on the course. Karen's probably one of the better show jumping riders we have on the circuit. She's always very much in control, very precise, and very careful. And she's clear over the first 2. Oh, and there's a drop rail, so there's 5 faults. And that's going to drop her in the standings now. David O'Connor had a clear round. Bruce had a clear round. So they will move up in the standings. So Karen cannot afford any more rails now if she wants to take a ribbon home. Looks like Nosy, or Nose Coup, is giving her just a little bit of trouble here. She's not really having as smooth a round as she normally does. She's having to check him back and really make him pay attention a lot more than usual. You'll notice that some of the riders are wearing red coats. They're actually called pink coats. These are all riders who are members of the United States equestrian team, who have ridden for the United States in international competition. And we have quite the who's who of the event world here at Groton House this weekend. Karen, you can see the little emblem on the side of the jacket there, on the breast pocket. That's the emblem of USET. And this coat went to the Olympics with Karen in 1988. She was a member of the Seoul Olympic team. So there she finishes off with just the 5 faults. She will pick up 2.2 time faults for going over the time limit, so she will have now marks of 66.65. Here we have Marcia Kulak riding Galleria from Scotia, New York. She's one of the upcoming riders to the international world. Marcia had a very successful year last year where she brought home a blue ribbon from the Canadian Advanced 3-day event up at Checkmate Farm last September. Marcia started out in 9th place. She moved up to 4th after cross country. She now has a score of 58.4. These riders know exactly where they stand when they come in. Marcia knows that Karen has dropped a rail and that has cost her a place, so she really has to hang on to a clear round to ensure a 4th place, at least a 4th place standing. So far she's clear on the course. It's a lovely big mare that Marcia has really nurtured up through all of the ranks in international and regional competition throughout the country. And there she is, clear over the wishing wells. She goes down to the double fans. And these fences may not look very big on your screen, but be well assured they are. They are of the maximum height and maximum width. And Marcia's really doing a superb job here, keeping her mare under control and nicely down through the triple. A nice big pat on the neck. So Marcia finishes with no jumping faults and no time faults. So she is assured of that 4th place standing. Here's Denny Emerson and Epic Win. Denny's currently in 3rd place with 56.8. And this is the last of 5 rides for Denny here this weekend. Just like the cross country, these riders get a chance to come out here and walk the course, check the stridings in between the fences, check their lines, and make sure all the distances and everything are set. A dropped rail there will cost Denny 5 penalties, so he's got to hang on here. No more rails if he's to stay in the standings. Little rub there on the first part of the in and out, but the rail is still in the cups. You're not penalized for knocking a rail, just knocking it down. Onto the double fans now. Another rub there, still up. Just 4 more fences. And over the big oxer and down to the triple. I had a chance to ask Denny about Groton House and how it fits into the schedule.
Well, I always think of Groton House as one of the hardest events. I don't like to bring a horse here that isn't ready to go. They really get an eye-opener. I think when you get through with Groton House, if you've gotten around it positively and the horse has gone well, the horse has really learned a lot and grown up.
We'll be back with the last round in just a minute. And here we are back with the last round of the day. Here's Mike Plum on the Executive 2. He's in the lead now with 50.8. Here's Mike with a few words on Groton House.
This organization here is superb. You always have good jumps. Everything is run well. The footing is normally very good. In this country, we don't have many events, period. And so we have to get to as many as we can.
Now, Mike has a little over 8 points in hand, so he does have a rail in hand as he goes into the course here. But he doesn't have any more than that. Now, you'll notice that Mike is not wearing his pink coat, even though he has represented the United States at 7 consecutive Olympic Games. The only Olympics he's missed since 1960 were the ones in 1988, and that was due to an injury in the spring selection trials. Mike is really keeping a controlled rein on this particular horse. He's really keeping him together, making him pay attention. He knows it's all on the line now. Standings have changed considerably after show jumping here. Marcia Kulak has now moved right up to second place. Denny with the dropped rail is in third. And we found out after that fall that Mike had on the cross country that he did in fact injure his ribs. So he's riding under the extreme conditions here. The rib injury is very tough on a rider. Then he comes down to the last four. Over the oxer, down to the triple. Very nicely done there, and on to the finish. But Mike picks up 1 1/4 time faults, but that was okay because he had that in hand. So he'll finish now with 52.05, and there is your winner.